Do you want to play an intimidating, brawling, former crime, or I guess maybe current crime enforcer in a Star Wars RPG, Edge of the Empire? Well, the hired gun enforcer talent tree might be the one for you. And yeah, it is a combat slash talker slash other stuff. Actually, come to think of it, this may be the most convincing argument for a 4-3s build. I mean, spoilers, I'm still not going to recommend a 4-3s build. I can never get away from that 4. It's too tempting. I always have to have at least one 4 in all my build recommendations. But if you are going to do a 4-3s build, gun to my head, I have to do a one-shot where we're all 4-3s builds for some reason. This is the Jack of all trades talent tree that actually feels like it warrants a Jack of all trades characteristics build. Anyway, so let's start with the talking aspect of the character. It mostly comes in the form of a bunch of ranks of intimidating, a talent which I really like, which makes you more resistant to coercion, or basically intimidation, but also makes you better at it. Although it does have a downside because it makes you better in a way in which it really only helps you against the more powerful enemies, weaker enemies. It might not help you at all, which is just really weird, but I guess at that point you could just rely on your dice pool without the help from your talents. So because of that, spoilers, you probably want a 4 in will to help you with your coercion check if you're going to be, especially the main talker. Although, this works best not as the main talker, but as a main talker in certain situations when intimidation works best, because ideally, the GM should be running it that certain characters are more resistant to certain types of talking checks than others. So your smoking hot Twi'lek character doing a charm check on the ugly Chud NPC, like they may simp for you totally, or they might, be gone thought because they're onto your tricks. You're talking to them for a reason. You want something. Just be out with it or leave. Don't give me that charm crap, right? It could go one of two different ways, depending on the NPC's personality, what type of checks works best, and sometimes it works better to coerce or intimidate them, sometimes it works better to lie to them, or do all of the presence-based talking checks, which ideally you would pair this with a presence-based main talker, and when they're doing their thing, any non-openly hostile talking check, basically, just by being there, looming over the person they're talking to, you give them some help, because you're just so gosh darn intimidating, and you throw some help that way. Which I like better than the whole good cop, bad cop talents like the Marshal had. They just didn't really feel wholly thematic. They easily could have been, but they didn't. And also, you would do a check to help someone else's check. Could you just assist them on their check? Or you do the check instead? Try that, why not? Like, why are we wasting everyone's time with 2 different checks all the time? Just assist. Do a combined check. Anyway, this makes more sense as a talking helping talent. There's another talent which is sort of a talking helping talent. When you get into a certain distance of adversary, you can make them do a fear check if it makes sense. Like if it's Darth Vader, GM could just say no, or whatever else, blah 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 blah, fine print. Get near them and they can do a fear check. Now, if you look at the actual results of a failed fear check, it doesn't necessarily help the person next to you who's getting the benefits of the loom on their check. It would only penalize the NPC. But while it wouldn't directly use the fear stuff, the fear mechanics, it would sort of use the general use boost die if it makes sense, or upgrade checks if it makes sense. And if one player put this NPC in a state of fear because of fearsome, they did a check, they failed, they're fearful now, and then another player was doing a talking check against them, just from circumstances, it makes sense that they might get a boost die to help them. So yeah, as a GM, I would allow it. I feel like it should help that person. So that's another way, arguably, that you can help someone with their talking check, both with loom and then that. And of course, fearsome, mostly it's to be used in structured play. So move near an enemy, they get scared, they get some penalties, maybe they take strain, which is great if they're one of the minions or rivals, they don't have a strain threshold, so they just take damage because you move near them, they got so scared, and maybe one of them runs away, peels off from the minion group, just because you walked closer to them. That's kind of awesome. I love that sort of thing. We also have a couple talents. Helps you with streetwise and knowledge underworld. We have a talent which will help you in a basic way with that. Another one which will actually help you in a major way, kind of. Basically, you can use these to substitute another knowledge check, which is really helpful because there's so many different knowledge checks and you're not going to be great at all of them. Also, we get some help buying some illegal, restricted stuff, which is nice. It's a bit easier in some way. Well, it's easier to find it, but more expensive because it's on the black market. And I guess you could make a case, and I'm not even going to make a case, I'm just going to say that it's okay. It might even be in the rulebooks. I don't even feel like looking it up. In fact, I think like 2 months ago, we did the same exact thing with a different tree. Still haven't bothered to look it up, because you should be able to use streetwise and or knowledge underworld in order to find illegal black markets to do this. I'm pretty sure it's in the rules, but I can't be bothered to look it up. Just do it anyway, should be possible. So I sort of lump all these together, the streetwise underworld knowledge general help and the substitution and also the buying stuff. Now this talent where you substitute knowledge skills with the other stuff, it's called Talk the Talk. As you might imagine, we have another talent called Walk the Walk. Now this one is a really big offensive talent. It's your main one, your only real one. Your only real offensive talent, isn't it? That's kind of annoying. So with this one, you can, with a really high cost, you're not going to use it that often. I guess you could, but you probably won't want to. Your group might get annoyed with you. You can add extra damage because of your streetwise skill to a certain type of check. The only other direct offense we get is a talent that basically takes a part of Brawl, which it has naturally, but it glues it onto melee checks. So if you have a melee weapon, you take people alive more easily. You know, if you take someone out with the wounds, the GM just says they're dead or they're not dead, whatever makes the most sense for their story. But if you strain them to unconsciousness, which you could now do with melee weapons, well, then they're just passed out, and then you could interrogate them or whatever. And so, yeah, I guess that could be useful, or maybe not. I really wish this was more avoidable, but at least you can scare damage into some of the weaker to medium enemies with the whole fearsome thing, so that's nice. That kind of more than makes up for it. What else do we got? We got some defensive stance. You throw up a defensive mode and it helps you with a certain type of attack. We have a little bit of toughened, average for a combat tree. We do get a little bit of extra help dealing with critical injuries, which is nice. We get some strain management, kind of a catch your breath sort of a thing. And we can re-roll coercion check and another type of check as well. I guess if you do fail your coercion check, you can have that in your back pocket, which is probably what you would save that for. So this is a pretty decent tree. You can be a talker, sort of a main talker, assuming you can just constantly intimidate your way through situations, which of course it's going to bite you in the ass, but I mean, doing stuff that bites you in the ass, it's kind of one of the central tenets of Star Wars, isn't it? So, not that big of a deal. Or you could be sort of a main talker and you're helping support another talker when their talking stuff is more appropriate. And also, decent combat. Depends on how you build your character, which is probably the main reason where I think we should probably not go with the 4-3s thing. But you do get to put the fear of you into people just by moving near them, so it's a little extra thing you could do. Always be moving and punching people, constantly moving around, moving and scaring people, and then punching them in the face. And I guess help buying stuff. And as I said before, yeah, 4-3s build could be perfectly fine. Brawn, will, cunning, and intellect for the streetwise and the knowledge stuff. It would work, it would be fine. If, you know, I had to play a 4-3s build for whatever reason, it would probably be that with this tree. But if I had to play this tree and that was all I had to do, I would definitely go with either a 4-4, will and brawn. That would be perfectly fine. So much stuff to do and a really good combat tree now that you have the 4 brawn. You have that dice pool to really carry you. You can easily double up on brawl, so yeah, just punch your way while scaring people and talking to people really well. And you don't have to worry about strain because of your 4 wills, so constantly strain yourself to do extra maneuvers, to more easily move around while punching people, and maybe a Basilisk, Ignition Sourcebook Basilisk. They have the extra maneuvers because of extra limbs. They have a strong brawn, and their will is okay. Their will threshold kind of sucks, but that's not that big of a deal. You don't have to really strain yourself that much. So yeah, that would be a great 4-4 build, or I guess a 4-3 build. Though they're not the species I like the most. Before we get to them, if you are going to do a 4-3-3 with, you know, aliens or whatever, I really feel like brawn is the priority. I mean, it depends on how much you want to hit, but you really need more help with the combat stuff, and that will also help you defensively. Plays double duty, which is really nice, but, you know, depending on how much meat you have on your team, you might not need to be punching that much. And maybe you want your character to be all bark and no bite, so, you know, very little brawn, don't be combat at all. Go full-on coercion with a 5 will, or, you know, just 4 will, and then the cleverness, the cunning, and the intellect is a 4-3-3. That could work if you want to get really weird. I like that. The all bark, no bite. Really, though, I think the intellect is the one you could drop. If you're going to drop any of these for a 4-3-3. 4 brawn, 3 cunning, and 3 will in that instance. But really, the species is what really matters, because the species I like best for this doesn't really work with those builds. Droids. Thumbbreaker Bot 5000. That's who I want to play with this. You can get some really fun builds with droids, and I'm realizing I really do want to do just a droid video and talk about the weird builds you can get. So let's see, if you get 5 extra points, experience points at creation to spend on your characteristics, you can get, it's a 4-4 and then 4 ones build, which, that's so weird. I love that. That's amazing. Do that, absolutely. I guess also you could do like a 4-3-2-2-1-1, but that's not a terrible build. And then the more well-rounded, can you do a 4-3s and 2-1s? I think that's the other one, the 4-3s, 2-1s. That's the other big one to go with. But really, especially if you're going droid, jack of all trades thing is not the best way to go. Whether you do the double 4s or the more sane, I guess, 4-3-2-2-1-1. It doesn't really matter. They'll both be perfectly fine, I think. Although, personally, I like the double 4s, 4-1s build, because that's just so weird. Really, though, the reason we picked Droid is because career skills and also the other special abilities. See, so these 4 career skills that we get from our specialization, one of them I don't care about at all, because it's the intellect-based one, so we can just drop that. But then the other 3 are really important. Brawl, Coercion, and Streetwise. Because of that, it's kind of tough. Just go with Droid. You just get 3 of those 4 free ranks. And then you get 6 of the 8 from the core career skills. Because you're a Droid, you are built to do this role. Whatever is in that talent tree, you are built to do it. And it's actually really easy. Just avoid the 2 agility-based skills. So yeah. The other 6, which is all brawn and will base. I take it back. Definitely the 4-4-1-1-1-1 build, and not the 4-3-1. Don't be a wuss. If you're gonna be Thumbbreaker Bot 5000, go all into it and do the 4-4 brawn and will. And just, you're all about scaring people and then showing them why you're so scary. And not only are you going to be resistant to these other obstacles that get in your way, the stuff that like athletics and resilience and that type of stuff helps you get around because of the career skills and your stats. But most importantly, you're going to be immune to poisons and to various like smokes and other stuff and water, drowning, breathing, any kind of whatever. When everyone else is coughing around you and looking like a little wuss, you're just walking through like it's nothing. It just really helps you feel cold and intimidating, and I like that. That's neat. Have a lot of like smoke grenades, stuff that really makes everyone else, all the fleshy meat bags, look as weak as they are, while you're just there, calm, cold, robotic, collected. Yeah. Droid for hired gun enforcer. Really solid tree. Talker, punch people. Good stuff. Do it.